The Deep Space Monitoring Station on Europa beeped insistently, drawing the attention of its night shift operator. Tom Miller leaned forward in his chair, squinting at the unusual readings on his screen. The energy signatures were unlike anything he had seen before. Massive distortions in spacetime, growing larger with each passing day. "Control, this is Europa Station." Tom spoke into his comm unit, his voice steady despite his growing concern. "I'm detecting anomalous readings in Sector 7. You might want to take a look at this." Within hours, the data had reached Earth's Solar Defense Command. Admiral James Thompson stood before the holographic display, his weathered face illuminated by the pulsing red markers that indicated the approaching disturbances. 20 years of military service had taught him to trust his instincts, and right now, every fiber of his being screamed danger. "The patterns are clear," he explained to the assembled military council. "These aren't natural phenomena. They're spreading along a direct path toward the Galactic Empire's new expansion route. If they continue unchecked." He let the words hang in the air. The council members exchanged worried glances. Humanity had only achieved faster-than-light travel 5 years ago, making them relative newcomers to the galactic community. The Galactic Empire, with its millions of worlds and advanced technology, treated Earth like a backwater colony at best. "We have to warn them," Thompson insisted. "Politics be damned." 2 days later, Admiral Thompson found himself aboard the Earth diplomatic vessel Hope, approaching the Imperial capital station. The massive structure dwarfed his ship, its crystalline spires and energy fields displaying the Empire's technological superiority. The Imperial Council chamber was designed to intimidate. Towering walls of shifting light surrounded the circular platform where Thompson stood, facing the elevated seats of the council members. Their enhanced bodies glowed with bioluminescent implants, a sign of status in Imperial society. "Honorable Council," Thompson began, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. "Our monitoring stations have detected severe space-time distortions approaching your expansion corridor. Our scientists predict catastrophic consequences if these anomalies aren't addressed immediately." High Counselor Adrian leaned forward, his silver-skinned face showing barely concealed amusement. "And what exactly would Earth know about space-time distortions? Your species has barely mastered basic fold drive technology." "With respect, Counselor," Thompson pressed on, bringing up the data displays he had brought. "These readings are conclusive. We've been studying similar, smaller anomalies within our solar system for decades. The pattern is—" "Enough," Adrian interrupted, waving his hand dismissively. "The Empire has expanded across half the galaxy. Our scientists are the finest in known space. If there were any genuine threats, we would have detected them. But our instruments are primitive," another council member cut in. "Like your species." Thompson felt his jaw tighten, but he maintained his diplomatic composure. "The threat is real. We're offering our data and assistance. The Empire thanks Earth for its concern," Adrian said, his tone making it clear the discussion was over. "Perhaps you should focus on managing your own system's affairs. We will handle galactic matters." As Thompson walked back to his ship, he met the eyes of Lord Marcus, a younger council member who had remained silent during the meeting. For a moment, Thompson thought he saw uncertainty in the Imperial's expression. "They're making a mistake," Thompson said quietly as he passed. Marcus said nothing, but his slight nod was enough to confirm that at least one Imperial understood the gravity of the situation. Back on his ship, Thompson stared out at the gleaming Imperial capital station. "Send a message to command," he ordered his communications officer. "Tell them to begin preparation for Protocol Dark Winter. If the Empire won't listen, we need to be ready." As the Hope pulled away from the station, Thompson couldn't shake the feeling that he had just witnessed the beginning of something terrible. The Empire's pride would cost them dearly, and when it did, Earth would need to be prepared to face whatever was coming through those distortions. He just hoped they would have enough time. 3 months after Admiral Thompson's warning, the Imperial colony world of New Haven went dark. No distress signals, No emergency broadcasts, just silence. The Empire blamed pirates and sent a patrol fleet to investigate. The fleet never returned. In Earth's Solar Defense Command Center, Admiral Thompson watched as red dots appeared on the holographic map, marking each lost Imperial world. 5 colonies in 2 weeks. The pattern matched their predictions exactly. Another energy spike detected. "Sir," reported Officer Anna Roberts, her fingers moving quickly across the monitoring station. "This one's 3 times larger than the last." Thompson nodded grimly. He'd spent the last months preparing Earth's defenses, converting old military bunkers into analog command centers, and retrofitting ships with mechanical backup systems. The Empire might think them paranoid, but humans had learned the hard way that sometimes the old ways were the best ways. "Sir," Anna called out suddenly, "we're receiving a transmission from Imperial space. It's different." The message crackled through the speakers, distorted and broken. "Unknown entities, weapons ineffective, energy systems failing. Request immediate." The transmission cut off in a burst of static. Thompson pressed a button on his console. "Get me the President." In Imperial space, Lord Marcus stood before the High Council, his usual composure shaken. 7 worlds, honored Council. 7 worlds lost in less than a month. The humans' warnings are irrelevant, High Counselor Adrian interrupted, but his voice lacked its usual confidence. "Our forces are the most advanced in the galaxy. Whatever this threat is, we will handle it." With respect, Marcus persisted, displaying holographic footage from the last patrol fleet. "Our weapons seem useless against these things. The energy beams pass right through them. Our shields fail when they approach. Even our automated systems shut down in their presence." The footage showed shadowy forms moving through Imperial ships like ghosts, their very presence causing advanced technology to fail. The council chamber fell silent as they watched their mighty warships reduced to floating hulks in space. "Perhaps," Marcus suggested carefully, "we should consider consulting the humans. Their warning was specific about." "Absolutely not." Adrian slammed his hand on his chair. "We will not go begging to primitives for help. Deploy the Imperial First Fleet. All of it." As Marcus left the chamber, he received an encrypted message on his personal device. It was from Admiral Thompson. "Still willing to help when you're ready. But time is running out." Back on Earth, Thompson walked through a massive underground facility in the Rocky Mountains. Around him, engineers worked on mechanical targeting systems, projectile weapons, and analog communication devices. Ancient radar systems were being rebuilt, and conventional explosives were being stockpiled. "How's the retrofitting coming along?" he asked Commander Bill Foster, who was overseeing the operation. "Good news and bad news," Foster replied, leading him to a test chamber. "The good news is that our kinetic weapons work perfectly without any electronic components. Pure mechanical action." He pointed to a rack of rifles and artillery pieces. "The bad news is that we only have enough to arm about 30% of our forces." Thompson watched as technicians assembled more weapons. "Keep working. We'll need every gun we can get." An alarm blared through the facility. Thompson rushed to the nearest communication station, where Anna's voice came through on an old-style radio. "Admiral, the Imperial First Fleet. It's gone. Complete destruction. The entities are advancing toward the Empire's core systems." Thompson closed his eyes for a moment. They had warned the Empire, tried to help them prepare. Now thousands were dead because of pride. His communication device buzzed. Another encrypted message from Lord Marcus. "Council emergency session called. Requesting Earth's immediate assistance. Please respond." Thompson looked at the message for a long moment before typing his reply. "Acknowledged. Coordinates for secure meeting attached. Bring whoever will listen." As he sent the message, Thompson knew that the real challenge was just beginning. The Empire was finally ready to listen, but had their arrogance already cost them too much time? He glanced at the military countdown clock on the wall. Humanity had prepared as best they could. Now they would find out if it was enough. The Imperial capital shook as another explosion rocked its foundations. High Counselor Adrian watched in horror as the massive space-time tear hung in the sky, like a bleeding wound in reality. Through it poured creatures of nightmare, shifting masses of darkness that consumed energy and technology with equal hunger. "My lord," a guard rushed in, his advanced armor flickering and failing. "The defensive grid is down. All energy shields have collapsed." Adrian's hands trembled as he watched his mighty civilization crumble. The Empire's most powerful weapons, plasma cannons, fusion beams, quantum disruptors, passed harmlessly through the invading entities. Each blast seemed to make them stronger, their shadowy forms growing larger as they absorbed the energy. In the military command center, Lord Marcus coordinated what remained of the capital's defenses. "Fall back to the inner sectors," he ordered through old radio equipment borrowed from the human delegation. "Abandon all energy weapons. They're useless." The entities moved through the city's gleaming towers like oil through water. Where they passed, lights died, vehicles fell from the sky, and even the Empire's cybernetic implants failed. Citizens who had depended on technology for everything from breathing to thinking collapsed in the streets. "Sir," a communications officer called out. "Admiral Thompson is on the line." Marcus grabbed the radio handset. "James, they're everywhere. Nothing works against them. Nothing." "I know," Thompson's voice crackled through the speaker. "We've been monitoring the situation. Earth fleet is ready to launch on your word. But Marcus, you need to convince the Council. We need full authority to operate in Imperial space." Marcus looked out the window at the chaos below. "I'll get it done. Just hurry." In the council chamber, Marcus faced the remaining council members. Many seats stood empty, their occupants already evacuated or lost to the invasion. "Honorable Council," he spoke quickly, "Earth's fleet stands ready to assist. They have weapons that can hurt these entities." "Admiral Thompson, you dare mention that human here?" Adrian's voice shook with rage and fear. "Our greatest weapons cannot touch these beings. What could primitives possibly?" The chamber's lights died. Emergency systems failed. Through the grand windows, they watched as a massive entity, larger than any before, emerged from the rift. Its presence alone caused every piece of advanced technology within a mile to shut down. In the darkness, Marcus spoke quietly. "The humans warned us. They tried to help us prepare. Now they offer help again. Shall pride be the death of our empire?" The chamber was silent except for the distant sounds of destruction. Finally, Adrian's voice came from the darkness, broken and hollow. "Send the authorization." Within hours, Earth's fleet arrived at the Imperial capital. Their ships were strange hybrids, advanced hulls retrofitted with mechanical controls, chemical rockets alongside fold drives, railguns mounted where energy cannons once sat. Leading them was the Earth flagship Freedom, with Admiral Thompson on its bridge. "All ships maintain radio contact," Thompson ordered. "Remember your training. Mechanical systems only. No energy weapons." The entities swarmed toward the Earth fleet, expecting easy prey like the Imperial ships. Instead, they met a wall of tungsten rods accelerated to relativistic speeds by massive railguns. The kinetic impacts tore through their shadowy forms, dispersing their substance into space. From the ground, Marcus watched in amazement as conventional missiles streaked through the sky, their chemical explosions disrupting the entity's form. Earth Marines descended on mechanical drop pods, wearing unpowered armor and carrying simple projectile weapons that cut through the invaders like they were smoke. "Impossible," Adrian whispered, watching through the council chamber windows. "No," Marcus replied. "Just different thinking. The humans understood what we didn't. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways." Above the city, Thompson directed the battle from a command center running on vacuum tubes and mechanical computers. "Target the largest breach," he ordered. "Prepare nuclear payload. Let's show these interdimensional invaders why you don't ignore human warnings." The fate of the Empire now rested in the hands of the very primitives they had dismissed. As Thompson watched his forces push back the entities, he allowed himself a small smile. Sometimes being underestimated was the greatest advantage of all. The Imperial War Room had changed dramatically in the past week. Gone were the holographic displays and quantum computers. In their place stood mechanical plotting boards, paper maps, and analog radio sets. Admiral Thompson stood before the gathered Imperial officers, his hand resting on a simple steel rifle. "Gentlemen," he addressed the room, "it's time you understood why we were ready for this fight." Behind him, Commander Bill Foster wheeled in a cart loaded with Earth weapons and equipment. The Imperial officers, their once glowing cybernetic implants now dark and useless, watched with mixed curiosity and skepticism. 15 years ago, Thompson continued, we detected our first micro-breach near Jupiter. Small, barely noticeable, but it taught us something crucial. He picked up the rifle. These entities don't just disrupt energy weapons. They feed on them. But they have no defense against simple physics. He nodded to Foster, who set up a target. Through the window behind it, they could see one of the smaller entities floating in the contained testing area. Thompson aimed and fired. The crack of gunpowder echoed through the room, and the entity visibly recoiled as the bullet passed through it. Kinetic energy, Thompson explained. No electronics, no energy signatures, just good old-fashioned momentum and force. Lord Marcus stepped forward, examining the rifle with new interest. But such weapons are so basic. How can they be effective against beings that cross dimensional barriers? Thompson smiled. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best solution. Watch this. He pulled out an old mechanical watch. Notice how it keeps working even when the entities are near. No electronics means nothing to disrupt. Then he displayed a hand-cranked radio. Mechanical energy can't be absorbed like electrical energy. We've been developing these systems in secret, preparing for the day they'd be needed. High Counselor Adrian, his once proud demeanor subdued, spoke up. How did you know to prepare this way? Because we remembered our own history, Thompson replied. Humanity has faced disasters before. Solar flares, electromagnetic pulses, power grid failures. We learned to keep backup systems, to maintain older technology alongside the new. We never forgot the basics. Foster opened a large case, revealing rows of mechanical calculators and analog guidance systems. These can be fitted to your ships, he explained. They're not as precise as quantum computers, but they work. And right now, working is what matters. The demonstration continued as Earth technicians showed the Imperial officers how to operate without relying on advanced technology. They learned to use mechanical sights instead of AI targeting, to navigate by stars instead of quantum positioning, to fight with bullets instead of beams. Your empire focused on advancing forward, Thompson said, always seeking the next breakthrough. We humans learn to advance in all directions, including backward when necessary. A young Imperial officer raised his hand. But what about the larger entities? Surely simple bullets can't harm them. Thompson's expression turned serious. That's where this comes in. He unveiled a large diagram showing what looked like a massive mechanical launcher. We call it the Thunderbolt. Completely mechanical, powered by chemical propellants, capable of launching a nuclear payload without any electronic components. The room fell silent. Nuclear weapons, technology the Empire had abandoned centuries ago as crude and primitive, now represented their best hope. We've already begun production, Thompson continued. Earth's factories are working around the clock, but we need your help. Your empire has resources we don't, manufacturing capabilities that could be converted to mechanical production. Lord Marcus stepped forward. You'll have it. Whatever you need. He turned to the other officers. The humans have shown us their way works. Now we must swallow our pride and learn. As the Imperial officers began their training with Earth's primitive weapons, Thompson watched with satisfaction. In one corner, Foster taught Imperial gunners how to use mechanical firing solutions. In another, Earth engineers showed how to convert Imperial ships to hybrid systems. "It's strange," Lord Marcus said, joining Thompson by the window. "All our advancement, and in the end, we're saved by technology we thought we'd outgrown." Thompson nodded. "The trick isn't just moving forward, Lord Marcus. It's remembering where you've been and knowing when to take a step back to move forward again." Outside, the first retrofitted Imperial cruiser rose on chemical rockets, its hull bristling with railguns and missile launchers. The future of warfare had become its past, and humanity's supposed weakness had become the Empire's greatest strength. The massive Imperial shipyard, once filled with the hum of energy fields and quantum forges, now rang with the sounds of hammers, mechanical drills, and welding torches. Admiral Thompson walked alongside Lord Marcus, inspecting the transformation taking place before them. "Your people learn quickly," Thompson remarked, watching Imperial workers assemble railgun mounts on a battlecruiser. What had started as reluctant cooperation had evolved into something remarkable, the birth of a true human Imperial alliance. "Necessity is a harsh but effective teacher," Marcus replied. "Though I must admit, some of our engineers are becoming quite enthusiastic about these primitive modifications." They stopped at a testing station where an Imperial engineer, Jack from Earth's technical team, demonstrated the new hybrid targeting system. The setup looked strange. Advanced Imperial metal bonded to Earth-design mechanical components, all operated by simple hydraulics and mechanical computers. "Look at this, Admiral," the Imperial engineer called out excitedly. "We've combined your clockwork targeting with our metallurgy, twice the range of the original Earth design, but completely immune to the entity's disruption field." Thompson smiled. The Empire's greatest strength had always been its ability to refine and perfect existing technology. Now that strength was being applied to Earth's obsolete designs, with impressive results. A loud alarm echoed through the shipyard, but not the familiar electronic wail of Imperial systems. Instead, it was the harsh mechanical clang of Earth's warning bells. Everyone moved with practiced efficiency, switching to backup systems and mechanical communications. "Report," Thompson barked into a hand-cranked radio. "Entity breach detected in Sector 7, came the response. "Small group, possibly a scout force." "Perfect timing," Marcus said. "The new hybrid fleet is ready for a real combat test." Within minutes, the first wave of modified ships launched from the yard. Their hulls still bore Imperial markings, but gone were the energy weapons and shield generators. In their place stood ranks of railguns, chemical thrusters, and armored plates designed to withstand physical impact rather than energy attacks. From the command center, Thompson and Marcus watched the engagement through periscopes and mechanical scanning arrays. The entities emerged from their dimensional tier, moving with their usual confident grace, until the first salvo of kinetic rounds tore through their ranks. "All ships, maintain formation," Thompson ordered through the radio net. "Remember your training. Physical weapons only, mechanical systems only." The battle that followed was unlike anything the Empire had seen before. Ships maneuvered on chemical thrusters, their crews navigating by stars and mechanical instruments. Railguns fired in synchronized patterns, their tungsten rounds creating a web of destruction that the entities couldn't evade. "Amazing," Marcus breathed, watching through the periscope. "They can't adapt to physical attacks. They're used to absorbing and redirecting energy, but they can't handle simple momentum and impact." The entities retreated, their numbers diminished. As the fleet returned to the shipyard, cheers erupted from both human and Imperial crews. It wasn't just a victory. It was proof that their alliance could work. Later, in the Strategic Command Center, Thompson and Marcus reviewed the battle results. Paper maps covered the tables, marked with unit positions and entity sightings. Imperial tactical officers worked alongside Earth strategists, combining their different perspectives. "The Empire's Council has approved full resource allocation to the retrofit program," Marcus announced. "Every shipyard in Imperial space will begin converting vessels to the new hybrid designs." Thompson nodded. Earth's factories are running at maximum capacity producing mechanical components. With your manufacturing capabilities added to ours, we might actually have a chance. More than a chance, Marcus corrected. For the first time since this invasion began, we have hope. Through the command center's windows, they could see more ships arriving for modification. Imperial vessels of all sizes, ready to be transformed from energy-dependent warships into hybrid fighting machines that combine the best of both civilizations. You know, Marcus said thoughtfully, perhaps this was inevitable. Perhaps we needed this crisis to learn that true advancement isn't about abandoning the old ways, but about knowing when to use them. Thompson watched as human and Imperial crews worked together, sharing knowledge that bridged centuries of technological development. Sometimes, he replied, the best way forward is to remember where you've been. Above them, another converted ship lifted off, its new weapons gleaming in the starlight. The Empire was changing, adapting, learning to fight in a new way, or perhaps an old way made new again. The real war was about to begin. Operation Closed Door began at dawn. Ship time. The combined human Imperial fleet, over 1,000 vessels strong, emerged from Fold space using their last burst of advanced technology before switching completely to mechanical systems. Admiral Thompson stood on the bridge of the flagship Freedom, now a strange hybrid of Imperial and Earth technology. Around him, crew members worked at stations that would have looked more at home in a World War I battleship than a spaceship. All ships, report in, he ordered through the mechanical radio system. One by one, fleet commanders checked in, both human and Imperial voices, united in purpose. Primary target confirmed, announced the sensor officer, working with a mechanical radar array. Largest dimensional breach we've ever detected, nearly 50 miles wide. Through the armored viewing ports, they could see it, a tear in space itself, pulsing with otherworldly energy. Entities poured through it like a dark river, their numbers greater than ever before. They've never shown so many at once, Lord Marcus observed from his position beside Thompson. They must sense what we're planning. Thompson nodded grimly. All ships, battle stations. Operation Closed Door is now active. The fleet moved into formation with precision that would have been impossible weeks ago. Imperial crews, trained in Earth's naval tactics, executed their maneuvers perfectly. The entities moved to intercept, expecting easy prey like before. First wave, engage, Thompson commanded. The front line of ships opened fire. Railguns thundered in the silence of space, launching specially designed rounds at relativistic speeds. The entities tried their usual tactics, moving to absorb the energy of the attacks. Instead, they were torn apart by pure kinetic force. Second wave. Commence Operation Hammer. Lord Marcus ordered. Smaller ships darted forward, launching salvos of conventional missiles. The entities couldn't absorb or deflect the chemical explosions. Where their numbers were thickest, the explosions created chain reactions, disrupting their very substance. They're adapting, called out the tactical officer, changing formation to compensate for physical attacks. Thompson smiled. Just as we predicted. All ships, execute Pattern Delta. Launch the Thunderbolts. From the belly of each capital ship, massive mechanical launchers swung into position. These were the Thunderbolts, purely mechanical delivery systems for humanity's most powerful conventional weapons. Nuclear launch authorized, Thompson announced. All ships maintain distance as planned. The launchers fired in sequence, sending their payloads toward the dimensional breach. The entities, never having encountered such weapons, made no move to evade. Their mistake. The first nuclear detonation illuminated space like a new sun. The entities near the explosion simply ceased to exist. More importantly, the dimensional breach itself reacted, shrinking, distorting. It's working, Marcus exclaimed. The breach is destabilizing. All ships, hold formation, Thompson ordered. Second salvo, launch. More thunderbolts fired. Each explosion forced the breach smaller, its edges starting to collapse in on themselves. The entities began retreating in chaos, their coordinated movements breaking down. "Admiral," the sensor officer called out. "New contact. Massive entity emerging from the breach." Through the viewport, they watched as something emerged from the tear in space, larger than any entity they'd seen before. It was like a living shadow the size of a small moon, its presence making instruments spin wildly. "This is it," Thompson said quietly. "The big one we've been waiting for." He picked up the radio handset. "All ships, execute final protocol. Launch everything we have." The entire fleet fired at once. Railguns, missiles, and nuclear devices all converged on a single point. The massive entity tried to dodge, tried to absorb the attacks, but there was too much raw physical force to handle. The nuclear detonations came in a carefully planned sequence, each blast pushing the entity back toward the collapsing breach. In its death throes, it emitted a pulse of energy that would have destroyed any electronic system. But against the fleet's mechanical weapons, it was useless. With a final, reality-bending implosion, both the entity and the breach collapsed. Where there had been a tear in space, now there was only the darkness of normal space, littered with debris from their victory. The bridge crew stood in stunned silence for a moment before cheers erupted. Human and Imperial alike celebrated together, their differences forgotten in the triumph of their combined strength. "Send word to all sectors," Thompson ordered, allowing himself a small smile. "Operation Closed Door is a success. The primary breach has been sealed." 3 months after Operation Closed Door, the Imperial capital gleamed under its twin suns, but it was a different city now. Alongside the towering spires of advanced technology, mechanical systems hummed steadily. The Empire had learned its lesson about relying too heavily on any single type of technology. Admiral Thompson stood before the full Imperial Council, no longer as a dismissed messenger but as an honored hero. The chamber itself reflected the changes. Backup mechanical systems installed alongside its advanced technology, a physical reminder of the new way of thinking. High Counselor Adrian rose from his seat, his once prideful demeanor replaced by genuine respect. "The Empire owes humanity a debt we can never fully repay," he announced, his voice carrying through the chamber. "Your warning, which we foolishly ignored, and your help, which we desperately needed, saved not just the Empire, but perhaps all known space." Thompson nodded graciously. "We didn't help you to earn a debt, Counselor. We helped because it was the right thing to do." Though, he added with a slight smile, "having our warnings taken seriously in the future would be appreciated." Laughter rippled through the chamber, something unheard of in the traditionally stern Imperial Council meetings. Lord Marcus stepped forward, carrying an ornate box. "In recognition of humanity's service and wisdom," Marcus proclaimed, "the Empire hereby grants Earth full member status, with all rights and privileges thereof. Furthermore, we establish the new Imperial Defense Doctrine, incorporating both advanced technology and traditional mechanical systems in all future developments." The box contained a crystal key, the symbol of Imperial membership, but this one was different. It was a hybrid, like their fleet. Crystal technology mounted on a mechanical base, representing the marriage of both civilizations' strengths. Additionally, Adrian continued, "We have approved the establishment of the Joint Technology Preservation Initiative. Every world in the Empire will maintain functional mechanical backups and traditional technological knowledge, alongside our most advanced systems." Thompson accepted the key, then turned to address the Council. "Earth accepts these honors with gratitude. But more importantly, we look forward to working together as true partners, not just in defense, but in exploring the stars and facing whatever challenges await us." Later, walking through the capital's newly established Museum of Victory, Thompson and Marcus stopped before a special display. Inside stood an old mechanical rifle next to an Imperial energy weapon. "You know what the funny thing is?" Marcus mused. "We thought we were so far ahead of humanity, but in some ways, you had surpassed us. You never forgot your roots, never abandoned knowledge just because something newer came along. Thompson nodded. The old saying on Earth goes, "Don't put all your eggs in one basket." We learned to keep our options open, to maintain multiple solutions to problems. It's not about old versus new. It's about using the right tool for the job. They moved to a window overlooking the shipyards, where vessels of the new hybrid fleet were being constructed. Each ship now carried both energy weapons and physical armaments, quantum computers and mechanical backups, fold drives and chemical thrusters. The entities may return one day, Marcus said, or we might face some other threat we can't imagine yet. And we'll be ready, Thompson replied. Not because we have the most advanced technology, but because we have all the technology. Everything from simple mechanical systems to whatever new discoveries await us. In orbit above them, Earth and Imperial ships patrolled together. Their crews shared knowledge, learning from each other's strengths. The Empire had gained humanity's practical wisdom and adaptability, while Earth gained access to advanced Imperial technology. But more importantly, both civilizations had learned the value of balance, of remembering the past while moving into the future. As the sun set on the Imperial capital, Thompson received a message from Earth. More dimensional anomalies had been detected in distant space. But this time, there was no fear in the report. Humanity and the Empire would face whatever came together, armed with both the wisdom of the past and the technology of the future. Ready for the next adventure? Marcus asked, noting Thompson's thoughtful expression. Thompson smiled. Always. After all, there's still plenty of space for both of us to explore, and plenty of warnings to give to whoever we meet out there. The Empire had learned its lesson about ignoring human warnings, and the galaxy was better for it.